Hello, Vanakkam Makkale. This is Dr. Jayashree, a special educator, wellness coach, and a psychologist. Today, I am extremely delighted to be back with the first series of Where Stories Unfold. Well, I was actually having a conversation with my friends, and one of them was like, wow, my child, he performs very well only under pressure. And the other person was like, I can actually, do much better at work when I'm under pressure. So in the pressure, அப்படின்ற வார்த்தை, it kept on repeating. So I thought, why not just ask them more and find out? So I just went and asked, okay, I understand that your child is a good performer when he's under pressure, and you can probably work better when you're under pressure. So, what is it that your child actually enjoys when he's under pressure? So this person was like, my child really enjoys science. And the other person was, I can actually execute my projects very well. So, these kind of conversations kind of triggered the fact that all of us undergo pressure, right? Somewhere or other in our lives. So I thought, why not turn this pressure into pleasure? So, Makkale, I'm going to share a beautiful, inspiring story that might probably impact you all and teach you how to handle pressure with pleasure. So, here goes the story. There was a young lady. She was 25 years old who lived in a town near Tamil Nadu. So, அவங்க பேர் ராதா. So, the Radha வந்து, she was an artist, so painter, and extremely dedicated to her work, very attached to her work, sincere. And the beauty about her was she was very cheerful and joyful, always took things very light, and was a person who can handle things with a lot of joy. So she was one day uh, thinking of doing some antique artwork. So in that process, she began to search for, look, gather the materials required for her artwork. Okay. So அப்படியே அந்த artwork materialsலாம் தேடும்போது she found a letter. So அந்த letter வந்து, it was from her grandmother. Her grandmother had written in that letter that there is a magical garden a few kilometers away from Tamil Nadu, interior of Karnataka. So அந்த gardenல வந்து you can get that garden to life only if you're able to face the challenges with a lot of pleasure. So, this lady, she was, as usual, very cheerful and joyful, and a kind of a person who can accept the challenges with a lot of might. தைரியமா எந்த ஒரு இது கஷ்டம் சந்திச்சாலும் நான் வந்து அதை சாதிச்சு காட்டுவேன் அப்படின்ற ஒரு டைப் அவங்க. ஸோ ஷீ ஜஸ்ட் ஸ்டெப்ட் அவுட் அண்ட் வெண்ட் இன் சர்ச் ஆஃப் தட் கார்டன். நிறைய பாதைகள், கரடு முரடு, முள்ளு, கல்லு, மழை, இந்த மாதிரி பாதையிலெல்லாம் she was just walking amidst all the thorns and weeds and stuff like that. So finally, she ended up at a place where she found a very ancient gate, or old, very old, or பழைய or iron gate. Well, how did she reach this place? Her grandmother was very wise. She had written some cues, some clue எல்லாம் கொடுத்திருந்தாங்க அந்த லெட்டர்ல. So they use பண்ணி அப்படியே she walked over to this place. It was a lot of effort. It took a lot of uh, months and weeks to reach there. So As she entered, she was very brave enough to enter that place. You know how that place looked like? Behind that gate, there was a lot of weeds, thorns. It was a kind of a barren land, you know. So this lady, she never hesitated. She just entered. And as soon as she entered this place, there was a very beautiful voice that came out. Welcome, young lady. I am the guardian of this garden. The person who faces the challenges with lot of might only can bring life to this garden. அதாவது யாரு எந்த கஷ்டம் வந்தாலும் அதை தைரியமா சந்திச்சு அதை மீண்டு வராங்களோ, ஒரு ஆசையோட ஒரு ஆதரவோட ஹாப்பியா அதை சந்திக்கிறாங்களோ, ஒரு பாசிட்டிவ் ஆட்டிடியூடோட சந்திக்கிறாங்களோ, அவங்க தான் இந்த கார்டனுக்கு ஒரு உயிரே தர முடியும் அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு that voice disappeared, vanished. So this lady, she just took up the challenge with lot of courage and happiness. So she just kind of settled down there, and every day after her work, diligently, she used to water the plant, she used to turn the soil, and she used to kind of nurture the whole thing, the land. அதுக்கு மென்யூர் போடுறது, அதுக்கு எப்பெல்லாம் அந்த சாயில், பழைய சாயில் எடுத்து புது சாயில் போடணுமோ, இந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. ஸோ எவ்ரி டே she used to give lot of love and care. So அன்பு, ஆதரவு, இதுதான் மெயின். So lot of, she used to literally talk to those plants, talk to those weeds. அந்த weeds எல்லாம் எடுக்கும் போது she had to clear the weeds, the thorns. அதெல்லாம் clear பண்ணும்போது literally she used to care for that soil. அவ்வளோ ஒரு ஆதரவோட அன்போட every day diligently she used to do this job. You know, the magic thing that she used to do was she was very consistent, she was very determined, she was very dedicated. So these three magical qualities of her, slowly பாத்தீங்கன்னா, there were tiny little green leaves that blossomed, that sprouted. This took several weeks. ஒரு நாள் ஆச்சு, 2 நாள் ஆச்சு. ஸ்லோலி அவங்க அந்த அன்பு ஆதரவெல்லாம் காட்ட காட்ட there were tiny sprouts, குட்டி குட்டியா குட்டி குட்டியா. So she was finding joy in that. So அப்படி இருக்கும்போது ஒரு நாள், நம்ம தான் இது வாழ்க்கையாச்சே, ஸோ அப்படி போயிட்டே இருப்போம் மேல, திடீர்னு ஒரு சரிவு வரும் இல்லையா? So like that, there was a time when this wonderful lady, she had to undergo a challenge. என்ன அப்படின்னா, there was a neighbor. That neighbor was 55 years old, a lady, Mrs. Rao. She, she was very annoyed with every action of Radha. Radha was very polite. அவங்க கிட்ட எந்த ஒரு குறைவும் இல்லை. She was very joyful girl, lady. So இவங்க she was a very grumpy, angry lady, Mrs. Rao. அவங்க என்ன இந்த ராதா என்ன பண்ணாலும் she was getting annoyed. Even அவங்களோட ராதாவோட குக்கிங் ஸ்மெல் கூட இவங்களுக்கு பிடிக்காதுன்னா பார்த்துக்கோங்களேன். அந்த அளவுக்கு she was angry and annoyed with Radha's all actions. But what do you think? ராதா அவங்க கூட போய் சண்டை போட்டிருப்பாங்களா? Never. அவங்க என்ன பண்ணாங்க? She was as always dedicated, smiling, cheerful, and consistently carried on with her work. டெய்லி அந்த கார்டன்ல போய் கவனிக்கிறது எல்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு இருப்பாங்க. ஸோ ஒரு நாள் அவங்களோட ஃப்ரெண்ட் ஒருத்தி வந்தா, ஷீலா அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு, ராதாவை பார்க்கறதுக்கு. ஸோ வென் ஷீலா கேம், ஷி அப்சர்வ் த ரூட் பிஹேவியர் ஆஃப் திஸ் ஓல்ட் லேடி. ஷி வாஸ் ஆஸ்கிங் ஹர், ஹே ராதா, how are you tolerating this Mrs. Rao with so much of pleasure? By now, I would have exploded. I would have lost my temper. So Radha replies with a smile. She says, Sheila, it is not about tolerating her pressure, but it is about understanding her. It is about understanding that she may be unhappy about something that has happened in her life. We never know what has happened in her life. So these things never bother me. I do what I can so that probably நான் பண்றது வந்து என்னோட பாசிட்டிவ் எனர்ஜி கேன் இம்பாக்ட் ஹர் இன் அ குட் வே. Maybe she is not even realizing that. She may not even realize that my energy is being impacted in a good way. So, இதை வந்து if I do this consistently, probably one day she might understand. So, I never find this as a pressure. I take it as a pleasure அப்படின்னு சொன்னான். ஸோ நான் வந்து இந்த அவங்க என்னதான் கோவப்பட்டாலும் என்னதான் கம்ப்ளைண்ட் பண்ணாலும் அது அவங்களோட கஷ்டம் என்ன இருக்குன்னு எனக்கு தெரியாது. ஸோ அதனால நான் பாட்டுக்கு என்னோட வேலையை பார்த்துட்டு இருக்கேன். ஒரு நாள் அவங்க வந்து என்னோட அன்பையும் ஆதரவையும் அவங்க புரிஞ்சுப்பாங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு சொன்னாங்க. ஸோ ஒரு நாள் என்ன ஆச்சு, இந்த மிஸ்ஸஸ் ராதா வாஸ் ஹேண்ட்லிங் அ வெரி ஸ்டப்பர்ன் வீட்ஸ். சிலதெல்லாம் நமக்கு சொல்ற பேச்சே கேட்காது பாருங்க. ஸோ சொல்ற பேச்சு கேட்காத வீட்ஸ், அதாவது அந்த வீட்ஸ் வானா வராது. இட் வாஸ் லைக் stuck on the ground very tightly, and it was not ready to come out of the soil at all. So when she was handling such a stubborn patch of plants, so Mrs. Rao comes and approaches her. Hey, young lady, why are you still struggling? Why are you still putting so much of effort to uh, remove these weeds and grow these useless plants? So this Radha replies with a very gentle smile. She says, Mrs. Rao, nothing is useless. Every effort that we put in will give a new life to it. நம்ம எவ்வளோ எஃபர்ட் போட்டாலும் அது அன்போட ஆதரவோட பண்ணா அதுக்கு வந்து ஒரு தனி உயிரே கிடைக்கும் அப்படின்னு she replies with a gentle smile. Then she carries on with her work, and eventually there was a miracle that happened. You know what happened? Mrs. Rao, she begins to understand Radha slowly. And one day, Radha, initiates the conversation with Mrs. Rao, and she gets to know how difficult it was being alone, and how Mrs. Rao lost her husband and disappointed and stuff like that. Then slowly, Radha says, by placing her hand gently on Mrs. Rao, she says, Mrs. Rao, do not worry. Sometimes when we share our burden, we relax, things get better அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு then they start sharing a bond among each other. They become good friends, and slowly Mrs. Rao, she started helping Radha with the gardening. Then both of them shared the responsibilities of taking care of the garden. And you know what happened? One day they saw so many flowers, colorful flowers blooming across the garden. So many flowers. ஒரு புது லைஃபே வந்த மாதிரி இருந்தது அந்த கார்டனுக்கு. பியூட்டிஃபுல் கலர்ஃபுல் ஃப்ளவர்ஸ். அண்ட் தீஸ் கலர்ஃபுல் ஃப்ளவர்ஸ் started attracting many birds, animals, so many beautiful animals. They came, they formed their habitat there. And one day, when they started hearing about this beautiful garden that was transformed, a business guy, a man comes. He says, I would like to buy this garden for $1 billion. So, this old lady surprised at that time. She says, hey Radha, நம்ம வந்து இதை வந்து யாருக்கும் விற்க கூடாது. Because this garden has taught us what is life all about. How to deal with pressure. It has given us so much of pleasure. We have transformed this garden into a beautiful life, isn't it? So நம்ம யாருக்கும் இதை விற்க கூடாது அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு both of them come with an understanding. They decide not to sell the garden to anybody. So they started fostering this garden, and this garden became a lot of hope to many people, not just the birds and animals, but even to all those who visited the garden. So, மக்களே, இந்த ஸ்டோரியிலேருந்து நமக்கு என்ன தெரியறது? ஃபர்ஸ்ட், நம்ம வந்து ஏதாவது ஒரு தருணத்தை நம்ம வந்து சேலஞ்சஸ் சந்திக்கும் போது, let us learn how to tolerate it with lot of patience. அதுலேயும் ஒரு பாசிட்டிவ் திங் நம்ம கண்டுபிடிப்போம். instead of complaining that this person did that அப்படின்னு சொல்றதுக்கு பதிலாக அதுலேருந்து நம்ம என்ன நல்லது எடுத்துக்கலாம் அப்படின்றத யோசிக்கலாம். So this will automatically transform not only us but also the others. So, my dear friends, I hope you enjoyed this story, and I hope you all will learn how to turn pressure into pleasure. Thank you very much for listening to me. This is Dr. Jayesh. Bye-bye.